So this is how we begin as we turn our focus on Afghanistan and US President Barack Obama. After 3 months of careful deliberation and countless consultations with his personal aides, Obama finally unveiled his plan Tuesday at the US Military Academy at West Point. That plan includes a roughly 50% increase in US forces by next summer and a troop withdrawal as early as mid-2011. It's the first time Washington has set a timetable for this 8-year war. Obama is counting on this strategy to help get him and America out of Afghanistan effectively, but also honorably.
Before Barack Obama's speech, more troops seemed a foregone conclusion. The uncertainty was the number. For the war plan, that was the focus.
And as Commander-in-Chief, I have determined that it is in our vital national interest to send an additional 30,000 U.S. troops to Afghanistan. After 18 months, our troops will begin to come home. These are the resources that we need to seize the initiative while building the Afghan capacity that can allow for a responsible transition of our forces out of Afghanistan.
U.S. troops in Afghanistan welcomed the decision.
I definitely think that the more U.S. forces coming to Afghanistan will end up helping us out in the long run and allow us to come home sooner.
But some in the U.S. aren't so sure.
The war in Afghanistan is really confusing to me. What is our exact motive? I'm not understanding it. So I really don't get the point and flooding it with 30,000 of our guys. I'm not understanding that too well.
At present, 68,000 American soldiers are serving there. The latest decision will take the total to something approaching 100,000.
30,000 is an intermediate number. It's smaller than the 40,000 requested by General Stanley McChrystal, the top U.S. commander in Afghanistan, but more than a courtesy figure. And if reinforcing troops is for a withdrawal under a relatively stable situation, I think the number is suitable.
The number came out of careful consideration. And the venue for the speech is also worthy of analysis. The U.S. Military Academy at West Point is the site of historic speeches. 43 years ago, Vice President Hubert H. Humphrey told graduating cadets that the war in Vietnam was essential to the stability of Asia. In 2002, President George W. Bush delivered a seminal speech. He laid out what would become known as the Bush Doctrine.
Yet the war on terror will not be won on the defensive. We must take the battle to the enemy, disrupt his plans, and confront the worst threats before they emerge.
Which of Obama's words will be remembered? And what will happen afterwards? In the Vietnam War, the beginning went smoothly, but escalated successively. Afghanistan looks disturbingly familiar. "14 years in Vietnam cost $140 billion. 58,000 U.S. troops were killed and over 30,000 wounded. Public opposition to the war snowballed. In 1975, the U.S. made a hasty withdrawal to end the dirtiest war in American history.
The U.S. will not repeat the mistakes in Afghanistan. At that time, Washington really wanted to achieve triumph in Vietnam, but Obama only needs a quiet withdrawal. He says sending more troops with the goal of starting withdrawal forces shows that it will not be a war like Vietnam, causing huge casualties and economic losses.
More troops an early exit. In a superficial way, it resembles George W. Bush's surge in Iraq.
I think the US will exit in an Iraqi way. That means after achieving a power-sharing agreement, the US will announce mission accomplished, then withdraw from Afghanistan in a relatively stable situation.
The Afghan war is now in its 9th year, and Obama made it clear that the stakes are too high for America to lose.
After 8 years, some of those years in which we did not have, I think, either the resources or the strategy to get the job done, it is my intention to finish the job.
Withdrawal seems the only way in front of the president. As the intensity of the battle increases, the U.S. death toll climbed to more than 900. And sending more troops means spending more money. $1 million invested per soldier per year in the Afghan war. 30,000 troops would mean $30 billion more per year to America's budget deficit. That's more than Afghanistan's entire GDP. And amid a sharp decline in America's economy, the public is losing patience.
I think that we ought to pull all of our troops out from over there and drop the big bomb on them and get it over with.
Why do you think that?
Because we're just wasting time and money.
Barack Obama is looking for the way out. Afghan stability cannot rely solely on Hamid Karzai's administration. Obama considered talking to Taliban moderates, but failed to make any progress. And he's called on allies to share the burden.
Our friends have fought and bled and died alongside us in Afghanistan. And now we must come together to end this war successfully. For what's at stake is not simply a test of NATO's credibility. What's at stake is the security of our allies and the common security of the world.
On Monday, Obama began his telephone diplomacy. He spoke with his counterparts, including the leaders of Britain and France. To date, only a few of NATO's 28 members have given a specific commitment. Washington's most faithful ally, Britain, promised only 500 more soldiers. And 2 months ago, a report that Italy paid bribes to the Taliban was even more shocking.
The claim that we're making in this article is that the Italian intelligence service made routine payments of tens of thousands of dollars to particular Taliban and insurgent commanders in areas where Italian troops were operating in Afghanistan. And the reason for this was that the Italian government was obviously facing a very limited support for the war in Afghanistan on the part of the Italian people.
The Taliban is growing in its strongest time after being ousted by U.S. forces in 2001. They now control almost 70% of the territory in Afghanistan. 20,000 strong, yet not recognized by the international community. But over 100,000 troops from NATO and other U.S. allies have still not achieved victory. Afghanistan is said to be the graveyard of empires. Great Britain and the former Soviet Union both paid a heavy price in lives and money. By the time U.S. soldiers start heading back home in 18 months, what will they be leaving behind?
Well, say what you may, but for Barack Obama, his first year in office hasn't really been so bad. He's avoided first-year fiascos such as John F. Kennedy's Bay of Pigs or Bill Clinton's Black Hawk Down. He's even won an unexpected Nobel Peace Prize. But one real test is whether there's real improvement in Afghanistan. Midterm elections are slated for 2010, and in 2012, Obama will probably seek re-election. He's already made history in many ways, but his chapter on Afghanistan has yet to be written. Up next, we'll take you to the Philippines to have a look at its deadly brand of democracy. Stay with us here on World Insight.